The salty tang of the open ocean, the creak of timber underfoot, the thrill of adventure calling from the horizon. For most, these are the ingredients of a lifelong dream. For Wade Wilson, better known as Deadpool, they were merely the backdrop for a spectacularly brief and utterly misguided career detour. It all began, as many of Deadpool's more curious ventures do, with an unexpected windfall. Not a lottery win, not an inheritance from a long-lost benevolent uncle, but a sum of money acquired through means that are perhaps best left vague. Suffice it to say, Deadpool found himself uncharacteristically flush with cash, and with no immediate supervillain to annoy or fourth wall to break, a novel idea sparked in his chaotic mind. He would become a pirate. One can almost picture the scene. Deadpool counting a mountain of crisp, possibly ill-gotten bills, a mischievous glint in his eye. The notion of a pirate's life, the swashbuckling, the treasure, the utter lack of rules, resonated deeply with his innate desire for unbridled fun and, let's be honest, property damage. This was no carefully considered business plan, it was an impulse, a whimsical whisper that rapidly escalated into a full-blown obsession. Why bother with sensible investments when you could buy a boat and sail the high seas, plundering and pillaging to your heart's content? So, with his newfound riches, Deadpool did what any self-respecting, newly minted pirate would do. He purchased a boat. Not a grand, majestic galleon that evoked images of Blackbeard or Captain Kidd, but something less. Perhaps a repurposed fishing trawler or a particularly sturdy tugboat hastily adorned with a skull and crossbones flag that likely looked more like a child's drawing than a symbol of terror. Regardless of its humble origins, it was his, and it was ready for adventure. Setting sail, one imagines, was an affair filled with more enthusiasm than nautical skill. The early days of his pirate career were less about daring raids and more about mastering the bewildering complexities of rigging, navigating by a compass that often spun wildly out of control, and, quite possibly, a relentless bout of seasickness. The romantic ideal of the pirate's life, with its endless bounty and boundless freedom, quickly began to clash with the far less glamorous reality of leaky decks, stale rations, and the sheer effort required to steer a vessel in anything resembling a straight line. His attempts at actual piracy were predictably a comedy of errors. Picture Deadpool attempting to board a passing yacht only to misjudge the distance and land with an undignified splash in the water. Or perhaps he'd try to demand treasure from a cargo ship only to discover it was carrying a load of industrial-grade toilet paper, or worse, a particularly dull convention of chartered accountants. The spectacular failure wasn't due to overwhelming opposition, but rather to a complete lack of competence, focus, and frankly, any real understanding of what piracy entailed beyond shouting "Arr" and waving a sword around. His crew, if he managed to assemble one, would have been an equally motley and disillusioned bunch, likely consisting of a few unfortunate seagulls, a sentient rubber duck, and possibly a squirrel he convinced was a skilled navigator. The high seas, which he envisioned as a playground for chaos, quickly became a tedious expanse of water. The thrill of the chase was overshadowed by the tedium of maintenance. The allure of treasure faded in the face of the endless horizon and the realization that actual treasure chests rarely just floated by waiting to be plundered. The turning point, the moment of clarity, was not a dramatic defeat at the hands of the Royal Navy or a mutiny by his imaginary crew. It was something far more mundane, far more Deadpoolian. Perhaps he ran out of chimichangas or discovered that salt water corroded his favorite novelty oversized spoon. It dawned on him, with the suddenness of a cannonball to the head, that being a pirate was actually a lot of work. It involved planning, perseverance, and a surprising amount of cleaning. It wasn't just about the fun part, it was about the entire part, and the entire part was, frankly, boring. The pirate's life wasn't for him. The dream, once so vibrant and appealing, had curdled into a tedious chore. So, with characteristic impulsiveness, he simply stopped.
He didn't grandly declare his retirement from the pirate trade. He likely just sailed his ramshackle vessel to the nearest port, tied it haphazardly to a dock, and walked away, perhaps leaving a note that read, "Ship for sale, slightly used, mostly for yelling at the ocean." And what next? With the pirate chapter closed as abruptly as it began, Deadpool's mind, ever restless, cast about for a new endeavor. If he couldn't terrorize the seas for profit, perhaps he could terrorize evildoers for the fun of it. The idea of being a hero, of using his unique blend of chaos for a perceived greater good, suddenly seemed far more entertaining. It offered the same potential for mayhem, but with better public relations and a much lower risk of scurvy. This brief, ill-fated stint as a seafaring menace is a perfect encapsulation of Deadpool's whimsical and impulsive nature. He is a man who will try any profession, any role, as long as it seems like it might be fun for 5 minutes. His commitment is to the fleeting moment, to the immediate thrill, and when that thrill inevitably wanes, he moves on, without a backward glance. It's a testament to his boundless, unpredictable energy, a reminder that with Deadpool, the journey is never linear, and the destination is always subject to change, often on a whim. What other absurd careers do you imagine Deadpool might have pursued, if only for a fleeting moment? Share your thoughts and your own favorite chaotic Deadpool moments in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this glimpse into the less than illustrious career of the Merc with a mouth, consider subscribing for more stories from the strange and wonderful corners of the comic book universe.